Hi, folks. My name is Mr. Thomas, and I am going to be your instructor for Dmpt 2525 Writing for Broadcast. This is a virtual class, it's online. It is, of course, the spring 2021 semester, which runs from January the 11th, 2021 through May the 3rd, 2021. It is a 16-week course. As far as the course, basically, our goal is to teach you the fundamentals of screenwriting. Screenwriting from the perspective of a person who writes a screenplay for a short film or a feature film. In this class, you will start off the semester by coming up with a premise for your screenplay. And actually, this semester, for the first time, I have some exercises that we're going to do. You won't we'll get into it later, but let's just say you'll have some assistance in selecting your subject matter, and by the end of the semester you'll have a 14 to 20 page screenplay, properly formatted in screenplay format. Now, we're not just writing a screenplay for the sake of learning how to write a screenplay, although that's admirable enough, but the goal is to give you a short screenplay so that in the rest of your time at GPTC, you have some material with which to work. So in other words, we want to give you a shooting script. So when you come up with your stories, you want to make it such that these are stories that are filmable in the time span of, say, a future 16-week semester, maybe narrative filmmaking if you select that course, or on a budget that you have access to. Like you want to shoot a film that you can shoot on video or DSLR and doesn't have a huge number of characters or locations, because the more characters, locations, special effects, and fights and things like that, the more expensive it's going to be. So you want to start off your process with, hey, I want to write a screenplay for a film that I can actually shoot. Okay, so we want you to come out of GPTC ultimately with a fully shot and edited and fully finished short film. And writing your screenplay is the first step in doing that. And learning how to write the screenplay is what we will do in DMPT 2525. You can see here on the screen the Blackboard site here. This is my site as an instructor. All the classes that I'm teaching this semester are presented here. Yours looks a little different because you're an instructor, because you are a student. But if you click on the DMPT 2525 Writing for Broadcast item on your version of Blackboard, it'll take you to the class. Now you can see here that there are some old announcements for the fall 2020 semester. You can ignore those. Make sure you look at the posted on date carefully to determine exactly whether the announcement applies to you or not. But it's going to start all over again with welcome to week number 1 for you. So it shouldn't be hard to determine what's yours versus what's for a previous semester. What I'll also work on is seeing if I can work with Sandra Clapper, our Blackboard administrator, to delete these old announcements so that they're just not in the way. But announcements are very important. Now, actually, I'm glad these are here from the previous semester, because they can show you one of the most important functions of announcements. That is, I will publish announcements on Blackboard in this section of Blackboard. In the announcements section, you can access them from this link right here in the index. And the announcements will tell you what we are going to achieve throughout that week. So for example, you will get a welcome to week number 1 announcement, and you'll either get that on the Sunday before the week starts, or the Monday that the week starts. Actually, according to my syllabus, the week always starts on Sunday. Okay, so the first week of class actually starts on Sunday, January the 10th. The first day of the second week of class would start on Sunday, January the 17th. Okay, so either Sunday night or Monday morning, you'll see an announcement, and it'll be like a checklist telling you everything that we're going to accomplish during the week. You'll also get a copy of this checklist emailed a couple of times to your school email address. So you want to obsessively compulsively check the announcement section of Blackboard. And you also want to obsessively compulsively check your email, because everything from publishing dates of quizzes, reminding you of quizzes that we're going to complete or that are due that week, reminders of quizzes, or I'm sorry, exams or projects, anything that we're going to do during that week will be listed on that page, in addition to some other useful information. So you always want to check the announcements as well as your email to make sure that you don't miss any deadlines. Next on Blackboard, let's take a look at the welcome video, syllabus, and no-show assignment section. In this section here, we have the Dmpt welcome video, or the Dmpt walkthrough video. And actually, these are two older ones. Those will go away. So you'll just see the one for this semester for spring 2021. You have the syllabus. If you click on this item listed, Dmpt 25 spring 2021 syllabus, you'll be able to download a copy of your syllabus. Very important that you download a copy of the syllabus and you keep it for your records. When we go over the syllabus, we're not going to go over it in detail. That would take too long. But what we will do is we will briefly review some salient points within the syllabus. Also, you have your work ethics folder that contains the work ethics quiz. And you also have the no-show assignment, which contains the no-show assignment item here. You want to make sure that you take your no-show assignment and your work ethics quiz before January the 24th, 2021 at 5 p.m. That is critically important, because if you miss the no-show deadline and the work ethics deadline, if you don't complete both of these by January the 24th, 2021 at 5 p.m., you will be considered as a no-show for the class, and the registrar will drop you from the course. You will get no more access to Blackboard for the course. You won't get a grade out of the class. So please make sure that you complete your no-show and ethics material before the deadline of January the 24th, 2021. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so now let's go to course information. Course information, there's nothing here now, but course information is where you're going to find PowerPoints for the chapters that are assigned in the textbook that we have. The chapter, we have one textbook, but we have probably about three or four textbooks that I'm going to give you material out of. But the one textbook, Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, that is required. You must purchase that textbook, and reviews of the chapters will be here in the course information section of Blackboard. Now, one thing, reviews in the form of PowerPoint videos. One thing I do want to caution you about is the fact that some students figure, hey, I won't buy the textbook, I won't read the textbook, I'll just read the PowerPoints. That never works, because of the fact that the PowerPoints don't cover all of the material in the textbook, in the chapter. They just review some of the items in the chapter, and they also have additional items that are not in the book. So in order to cover all of your bases and do well on a course, you must both read the chapters in the book, stay up with the reading on schedule, and also do the PowerPoints, or read the PowerPoints. At the end of every week, on Friday of every week, we have a quiz. The quiz may be between 20 and 30 questions, okay? And they're basically there to make sure that you can consolidate your knowledge and you keep up with the reading. It is incredibly important that you keep up with the reading. If you're not going to buy the book, or you're not going to keep up with the reading, I can guarantee you will not get above a D in the course. So please, please, please buy the book, read the book. It's a very good read. It's not a long book. We take it chapter by chapter over the semester, of course, but it's a fun book to read because it's written in everyday language and there's lots of humor in the book. And so it's one of the easiest reading books I've ever had, especially on screenwriting. And so that's why I selected it for you. The book is in the bookstore. You can purchase it from the bookstore. You cannot walk into the bookstore to make purchases, of course, because of COVID-19 for the spring 2021 semester. So what you'll have to do is you'll either have to call the bookstore or go to the bookstore online on the gptc.edu website and order the book like that. In the past, the bookstore has mailed purchased books to students, postage free. So you pay for the book, but you don't have to pay for the postage. Also, if you have financial aid that's going to take care of the cost of the book, if you tell them that at the bookstore, they'll look up your information and they can take care of the cost if you have money allocated for that in your financial aid. So first thing you want to do is you want to purchase the book for the course. You definitely want to take that ethics quiz and that no-show assignment. You want to take care of those right off the bat as soon as possible. Okay? So here's a book right here. This is on Amazon.com. Of course, you can buy it from vendors other than the school. It is definitely cheaper if you buy it from somewhere other than the school. You can get electronic version of the text from like a Kindle version of the text from Amazon or other vendors, which I find very convenient. So you don't have to buy another book that you may lose or may get worn with use. If you have a digital version on your phone or your tablet and your computer, you can also download the free Kindle app. Any Mac or PC or smartphone can do this. Any tablet can do it. You get the free Kindle app and you can start a collection of your textbooks. That's what I've been doing for the past 15 years or so. And I find that it is far more convenient than hefting around a bunch of books. So here's a textbook, Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need by Blake Snyder. Now, one thing I want to say as I go back to Blackboard is Blake Snyder, that is just one, his system is just one of many different systems of screenwriting. When I say system of screenwriting, they don't tell you what to write. They just set up the structure with which to tell your story. And even within that, there are many different ways you can tell your story. You don't have to write a screenplay in chronological order. You could write it in reverse chronological order or jump around in time. Okay, those are rather difficult to do for beginners, but it is possible. So all of this is possible through really anybody's system. Blake Snyder I find good because Blake Snyder is he was, because he passed away some years ago, but he is more of a commercial. He was more of a commercial writer. When I say commercial, that basically means that he wrote he wrote screenplays that were meant for mass consumption at the AMC theater. Screenplays like, he didn't write Transformers, but a screenplay like that, or something you would see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. His style of writing is more popular, more pop film, as you might call it. And that seems to resonate with a lot of students. It's very accessible. But I'll also be giving you material from Sid Field's The Screenwriter's Workbook. This book you do not have to purchase, but it's highly recommended that you purchase it, but I don't require it for the course. Sid Field is much more of a classical screenwriter. He passed away as well. More of a classical screenwriter and screenwriting teacher. So he talks a lot more about 3-act structure. That's the idea that every film, whether it's a feature film or it's a short film, consists of 3 acts, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And within those acts, you have something called the screenplay paradigm, which is basically saying that certain things happen at certain points in the screenplay. Okay? They don't tell you exactly what has to happen, but they'll tell you what kind of event has to happen. Like at the midpoint, this is something Blake Snyder says more of, but at the midpoint, which is halfway through your screenplay, your protagonist, which is your main character, will either apparently have lost the fight, lost their goal, missed their goal, or they would have attained their goal, but it's an illusion. Okay, after that midpoint, you find out, okay, well, you didn't really find the Ark of the Covenant, or you found it, but it was immediately taken from you. Okay, so the second half of the film would be about, in this case, Indiana Jones getting the Ark back. Okay, so that the idea, that midpoint. They don't tell you exactly what has to happen in that midpoint as far as your particular story, but they tell you the kind of event that needs to happen. So that's really the basis behind all screenplay structure. Sid Field, Blake Snyder, and a third screenwriter or screenwriting instructor, Robert McKee. They all, they all pretty much do the same thing. They just have different ways of doing it. Sid Field, like I said, is a lot more classical. Sid Field was the first screenwriting teacher that I studied back when I started studying film, and it's very classical, meaning that that's the old-fashioned way of writing a screenplay, but it's tried and true, and it's very solid. Doesn't have gimmicks and bells and whistles and things like that. Okay, so and also one thing that's great about the Screenwriter's Workbook, it says the same thing in a different way from Blake Snyder, but this particular book gives you exercises in a step-by-step fashion. So by the time you work through the book, through all the exercises, you have a complete screenplay. Now, I'll be just cherry picking things out of this book that I present to you because of the fact that we don't have time to go through all of Blake Snyder and all of Sid Field and all of Robert McKee. But Sid Field is a very, very good resource. And the last one I mentioned is a book called Story by Robert McKee. Once again, this book is not required for the class, but it is highly recommended. Robert McKee, let's see if I can find it. Okay, well, here's what the book looks like. Robert McKee is more along the lines of a classical screenwriting instructor like Sid Field, but his focus is less on the screenplay paradigm. He talks about the same things, but his focus is more on developing your characters, and his is more of a philosophical approach. The focus is a lot less on, there's structure there, of course, but what he wants to talk about, are things that are not as rigid and structured as Sid Field. His content is more nuanced and more sophisticated. I normally tell people you could start with either Sid Field or Blake Snyder, and then once you know what you're doing as far as the structure of a screenplay, then graduate to the Robert McKee, because then that's when you go to the advanced level. So I do want to mention that to you. Robert McKee. You'll be getting material from Robert McKee, especially when it comes to why we write screenplays and the importance of story as a institution in human life. Okay, we'll say Robert McKee has a lot of good writing on that. So those are the three books I'll be introducing in the text in the class, but only the first one, Save the Cat, is required. A required text for the course. Okay, like I said before, in the course information section, you'll have PowerPoints that review the individual chapters in the text, and you'll also have any supplementary material, things that may not be specifically geared towards a project or a chapter in the book, but if you want supplemental material to make you a better screenwriter, and all of you should, you definitely want to dive into the folder called supplementary material. Okay, it'll look something like this. I can actually build it while we're here. The folders. Okay. So I'm just making a folder that's going to contain the PowerPoints. So here it is right here. When you go to the course information section, click on the Dmpt 2525 PowerPoints folder, and you'll see a list of PowerPoints covering the chapters in the text. Once again, don't rely just on the PowerPoints, because they are reviews. They're synopses of the chapters. And there'll be lots of other information in the chapter that's not in the PowerPoint. So you have to read the book and read the book and look at the PowerPoints as well. I'm making another folder here, supplementary screenwriting material. Want to extend your knowledge of screenwriting. Look. Resources in here. Now, one thing that we're going to talk about in the course is the fact that screenplays have a very specific format on the page. You don't just sit down and start typing in Word. There's a very specific format that you must follow. It kind of looks like a format for a stage play, for like a theatrical play, but it's not exactly that. I'll just show you what a screenplay format looks like. It's extremely important that you become familiar with this format, and it's like second nature to you, okay? If you look at, say, this sample of a screenplay right here, okay? We have INT period, living room dash day. That's short for interior living room day. It's called a scene heading or a slug line. It tells you where the scene takes place. You will always see it presented like this, all caps, INT period, not interior spelled out. You're not going to see a comma instead of a dash. It won't say sunrise or dawn most of the time. It'll either be day or it'll be night, okay? So commit this to memory as far as the format. Also, this line, as all the other ones are justified or they are positioned at very specific measurements in on the page. Okay. Now, in the old days, we had to actually go in and take a ruler and a typewriter and measure out, well, how far should the slug line be in from the edge of the page? How far should the general or the action section, which is what this is called here, Grandma sits on the couch, how far should that be from the edge of the page? How far should this all caps character name be from the edge of the page? And where do I position the dialogue? In this case, this is what Grandma says, okay, on the page as far as measurements. That we had to do it all manually in the old days. Nowadays, it's much better. We have software, some of it free, that will format the screenplay for you. You still have to do the typing, and you have to tell the software what the general or action section is. You have to tell the software when you're typing in a character's name, and tell the software when you're typing in dialogue. But it's a lot easier than having to hit the spacebar button a certain number of times in order to get the position of the elements correct on the page. So you'll see material in the PowerPoints on that, and I'll also probably present more information on that through a video over time. Okay, so let's go to course content. In the course content, you see we have 3 folders: quizzes, projects, and exams. Quizzes, like I said before, you will have quizzes in this class. Every Friday is the due date of your quiz, okay? So for example, quiz number 1, that covers the first chapter in the book, the introduction, well, actually the first 2 parts of the book, the introduction and the first chapter. What is it in the Save the Cat textbook, okay? This quiz will be due on, I believe it's January the 22nd. January the 22nd is your first due date. And I'm going to pull up your syllabus here just so I know that I'm giving you good information. You want to make sure that you keep track of all your due dates. I do not give makeups. I do not give extra credit. I do not do redos on quizzes or projects or exams or anything like that, especially when you're considering becoming a screenwriter or when you're working with anything in film. You must be very much on top of your deadlines. Many times most times you get no chances to get something right, but when you do get a chance to get something right, you get one chance. If you miss your deadline for a draft or you miss a deadline for something you're supposed to do in the film, they just hire someone else to do it for you. So we're going to get you ready for the big times by making sure that you know that you must always meet your deadlines. So as you can see here from the course outline, your screenplay number one is due, I'm sorry, it's not the 22nd. It's due in, that's screenplay number one, your quiz number one. Your quiz number one is due on Friday, January the 29th at 11:59 p.m. And it's a few things. There is the screenplay structure and the paradigm video, some of which I've given it to you right now, and the Raiders of the Lost Ark film. Raiders of the Lost Ark is, we're going to watch a couple of films over the course of the class, not as a class. You'll have to go out and find this film on your own. You can probably find it easy on Xfinity on demand, on your cable provider, something like that. You know, if you were inclined to rent it, you can rent it through YouTube, but it is up to you to find the films. It's only like 2 or 3 of them that we're going to watch in the class, to find them and watch them, because the quiz is going to include material on them, and we're going to analyze these films for their screenwriting. And we also have a copy of the screenplay that you're going to be responsible for reading as well. Okay, we'll get back to the syllabus in a little while, but I did want to just confirm the date of that first quiz. So January 29th by 11:59. If you miss that window, that's it. You cannot take it. You just missed the quiz. I do not allow, once again, for you to make up quizzes. However, all the quizzes will be available to you on day one, on January the 11th. So if you want to read ahead the textbook and you just want to just go and, knock out your quizzes ahead of time, because the PowerPoints will be up as well, and you want to knock out your quizzes ahead of time, you are more than welcome to do that, to stay ahead of the curve. But once that window closes, and the window closes always for a quiz, it always closes on the Friday that quiz is due at 11:59 p.m. The announcements that you see posted in Blackboard and the emails that I send you, they'll always tell you which quiz is due in a particular week. Okay, so stay on top of that, check your email, make sure you know what's going on. Like I said, we have a certain number of quizzes. I'll probably add a few quizzes. I have 7 quizzes here, okay? But if I look at course content, go back to course content and go to projects, you can see that I also have several projects as well. I have 3 projects right now, okay? You can see I have 3 elements. I have a project assignment sheet, okay? The project assignment sheet is a sheet that tells you everything you need to know in order to complete the project, meaning it gives you the instructions. Use a project assignment sheet as a checklist. Some of the pitfalls people fall into sometimes is that they either A, won't read the project assignment sheet at all, just kind of get a gist of what they're supposed to do, and then they'll do it and get it mostly wrong. They'll be, second thing they'll do is they'll just kind of scan over the project assignment sheet and have a vague idea of what they're supposed to do, and they'll execute the project and once again do it wrong. What you need to do is you need to read the project assignment sheet several times before you do the project, and while you're doing the project, have the project assignment sheet right there so you can consult it and use it as a checklist to make sure you're getting everything done correctly. Because when I'm grading your project, I'm going to have the project assignment sheet right there as a rubric, and I'm going to go down the list like a checklist to make sure you have everything. Okay, so for all the projects, make sure you are thoroughly steeped in what I'm asking you to do, and you can refer to it at a glance, and you check all the boxes for what's supposed to happen in your project. Also, there usually will be some supplementary material. Like here, we include the Blake Snyder's beat sheet, and also a beat sheet for Indiana Jones: Raiders of the Lost Ark, that can help you with this project, the 15 beats that you're going to put together for your first project. Okay, I'm thinking about adding a couple of more projects, maybe even one before the logline project, but I'll give you that information in the announcements. Okay, so you have your projects, you have your quizzes, and of course you have your exams. The exams can be the final exam and the midterm exam. These will not be available to you until the appropriate time in the semester. So that's something that you cannot take early. Okay. Of course, you have a professionalism, a participation grade, and also we have a proctored event. This year, we've made some changes to the proctored event. Your proctored event will take place on a specific day, and during the proctored event, you will take the final exam. Okay, your proctored event will take place on April the 26th. That's a Monday, from 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. During that proctored event, you'll take a final exam. So what that means is that we're going to use a piece of software called Respondus Lockdown and Monitoring. That's some software that the school is invested in that allows you to present government ID, like a license or a passport or military ID, to prove that the person who registered for the course is a person taking the final exam, and the Respondus Lockdown will basically proctor or supervise you taking the final exam. Okay, it's mandatory. We have to do it. Actually, showing up to the proctored event, the proctored exam, just showing up, that's 10% of your grade, and another 10 to 15% of your grade is the actual exam yourself. Okay, so the proctored event is 10%. The written final is 10%. So if you miss that proctored event, that's 20% off of your final grade right there. So the very highest you could score in a class would be at 80. And that's if you got everything else, all the quizzes, all the projects, perfect. I can guarantee you that probably is not going to happen because of the fact that I probably would have subtracted some professionalism grades, some professionalism points because you missed the proctored event. So, please make sure you make that proctored event. Make sure you don't miss that. That's critically important. Okay. So I think we're done with Blackboard for now. Okay. Let's go on to our syllabus and we can finish up with that. Okay. So this is our syllabus for the semester. Basically, you're going to be introduced to formats for writing for, really, we're pretty much going to do really just film or commercial television, dramatic screenplays. That's what the focus is going to be. The only prerequisite for this class is Dmpt 1000. This is my contact information. As you know, we're under COVID-19 restrictions, so this class is all virtual. There'll be no meeting on campus. If you need to speak to me or talk to me, please email me, okay, at thomasj@gptc.edu, or you can, if you want to talk face-to-face to me, you can email me and we can schedule a virtual video chat on Blackboard Collaborate. Okay, but the idea is we want to make it so that everybody's safe and healthy. So don't come to my office when we get back on campus expecting to meet with me face-to-face. Until COVID is under control and everybody's vaccinated. That's not going to happen for everybody's health and safety. So, please you can call me in the office when we get back on office. Because of COVID, nobody's going to be working on campus, not even the students not even the instructors until January the 25th. After the 25th, if we get the all clear, the instructors will come back to campus. I'll be in my office. However, like I said, don't come to see me. Email me or email me and make an appointment for a video chat with me. Or you can call me on my office phone when I'm in my office. So what I'll tell you in the announcements of the week of the 25th, I'll tell you whether or not we're headed back to campus or whether I'm still teaching virtually from home. Here's information on the textbook, Save the Cat. I'm not going to go over all of this in detail because this is already a 35-minute video, and I want to go ahead and wrap this up. But you do need to make sure you download and read this syllabus in detail, okay? So make sure you do that. As far as how I provide feedback on your projects that you turn in, when you're in Blackboard, you click on the grade that you see that you've received on a project, and you should see my notes right by your grade, things that you did right, things that you did wrong, how you can fix the things that are wrong. Please make sure you read those notes. I spend a whole lot of time writing those notes, folks, sometimes upwards of an hour or so on each student for one project. So I spend a lot of time writing those notes. Please honor my sacrifice by actually reading them. The notes are there so that you can improve your craft as a screenwriter. Most people who know me know that I believe story is king. Your best way to live your life as a big time TV or film person or animation person in Hollywood or as an independent filmmaker is to be in control of your own content, to be a writer. Whether it's Ryan Coogler or Shonda Rhimes um, or Kenya Barris, all of those are, or Tyler Perry. These are all big time filmmakers and TV producers who, and each and every one of them started off as a writer, because nobody on a film set can do anything until a writer comes up with a script. So you have maximum control and maximum creativity when you're the writer. That's why it's important that you all know how to write. Even if you don't want to be a screenwriter, if you want to be a director of photography or an editor or something else, you all use the screenplay as your source material. So it's very important for you to know how to write a good screenplay, so you will know when you're reading a good screenplay and what the possibilities are. So all artists in film and television at the beginning and end of the day should be writers. Okay, so I wanted to show you, this is for a previous semester here, I wanted to show you how you can look up my notes on your projects that you turned in. Let's go to this one right here. You click on the grade that you get, and then when you click on the grade, usually what will happen is that you'll see a grade details page. You can see all the notes I gave this one student. You see that? That's a lot. That is a lot. That is a whole lot. That's just for one project, one student. Could you imagine how long it took me to write that? It took a long time, okay? If I click on view attempts, I don't know if you see it exactly like this. I'll see where the student has turned in the project. And then when I click in where I made the grade, here are my notes that I gave to this person, okay? I analyze it in detail. So please, please, please read those notes. One thing that's tragic is if you write something, I give you feedback on it, and you move to the next step, because each step in the screenwriting process is built off the previous step. But I look at the second step and you didn't correct any of the changes, any of the mistakes. You didn't change any of the mistakes that you made in the first step. Okay, and so now this first step is flawed and the second step is flawed. So now the error has increased in size. So please make sure you don't just get your grade and keep it moving. Make sure that you read over my input as carefully, as thoroughly as possible. That's how I give you feedback. Okay, let's finish up with this syllabus. Okay, we talked about the proctored event already. How much it's going to be. 10% of your grade in the final exam was another 10%. Your proctored event will be on Monday, April 26, 2021 from 2 to 3 p.m. on Respondus, Lockdown, and Monitor. Okay, I talked to you about the no-show assignment work ethics quiz. This is the course grading breakdown, how much everything is worth, 10% all the way down the line. Okay. Information more on the final exam is going to be given to the proctor during the proctored event on April 26th. Here's our course outline. This tells you what we're going to be doing day by day. First column tells you which week it is and the range of days during that week. Like this is January the 11th through January the 17th. What you're supposed to be reading or studying at the time is in the second column under readings. So for the first week of class, you want to read the syllabus. You want to read the PDF that's in the course information section of the Blackboard website, What is a Screenplay? And you also want to watch the video called the Paradigm video, the Screenplay Structure Paradigm video, Part 1. And that's going to also be in the course information section for the class. This over here, the third column, tells you what you should be doing during this week. You want to watch the course walkthrough video, which is what this is, and you also want to do your no-show assignment ethics review your ethics quiz, which is due on Sunday, January the 24th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Remember, if you don't take your no-show assignment and your ethics quiz. They will drop you from the class, so please don't forget to do that. Okay, so as we go down the weeks in the semester, you'll get information on what you're supposed to be doing. Your first quiz, like I said, is on January the 29th. Okay, all right. Remember, the middle column tells you what you should be reading and studying. The right column will tell you basically what you should be turning in or completing assignments. So any quizzes that you have due, they'll appear in the third column here. Okay, along with the date. Remember, quizzes are always due on Fridays at 11:59 p.m. We have a midterm exam in week 8. Okay, that'll also be given on Blackboard. Okay, and week 13 there's spring break. No classes, no assignments are due. I won't expect for you to turn anything in, and I won't give you anything for the week of April the 5th through April the 11th. After the spring break, we jump right back into it, and we start off with quiz number 9 on chapter 8, and then actually in week 15 we have a final exam. Okay, and also you have three or probably 4 projects that you're gonna have to turn over the course of the semester. The final project is the first draft, not the final draft, but the first draft of your screenplay. That'll be your final project. That's due on April the 19th, 2021. The mandatory project event and the final exam was April 26th. And notice how I did not schedule us all the way out to the last day of the semester, which would be actually not April the 3rd. That's May the 3rd is the last day of the semester. The reason why I don't schedule all the way out to the end of the semester is because of the fact that we want to make sure, especially in a class like this where you guys be turning in lots of content, if I had your final project due on May the 3rd and I have to read the equivalent of 140 pages of screenplay and have final grades in by May the 5th, they often have tight deadlines like that at the school of when I have to turn in my grades. There's no way I can read all those projects in the last couple of days of the semester and turn my grades in on time. So that's why I try to wrap everything up a week or more before the actual end of the semester. So that's why I have the dates as they are. Okay, so let's change this. 502. Okay, so this will be updated and placed on Blackboard for you. That's about it. I think I've covered everything here. Oh, one last thing I want to cover, and you guys are veterans, so you probably already know that. If you have any problems with Blackboard, if you go to the Blackboard login page before you click into a specific class, you can see under Help and Resources, you can get a help desk request form. You click on this link, and that'll allow you to submit a ticket for someone to help you resolve any problems you have with Blackboard. As well as Blackboard Help for Students. This is more of a self-guided resource for you in the tools section, so you can get help there. Also, don't forget, you can also call the school and get transferred to technical support, and they can give you Blackboard help if you're having problems getting into Blackboard. That's about it. I'm very excited for this class. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite classes, my favorite class to teach at GPTC. I started off in screenwriting and it branched off into filmmaking from there, film production from there rather. And I'm a strong believer in story is king or story is queen, however you want to say it, in that all good films, all good animation, all good anything in media, it starts off with a good story. So learning how to tell a good story, learning how to write a good story and stick to the format, that is absolutely crucial to your careers. So I look forward to teaching this class. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me, and I look forward to working with you this semester.